Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark.
Dreamland USA, where dreams never end.
Rumor Hesley heard the carnival music at 11:58 p.m. Not from her headphones, not from the television downstairs, outside, thin and distant beneath the rain. Her bedroom window rattled softly as thunder rolled somewhere far beyond Duskberry Fallow. The old digital clock beside her bed glowed blood red in the darkness. 11:58 p.m. Again came the music. Tinny carousel organs, children laughing, a warped announcer voice crackling through static. Rumor slowly sat upright beneath her tangled blankets, her pulse climbing into her throat. The town warned about this, not directly. Nobody in Duskberry Fallow ever wanted to say Dreamland USA aloud after dark, but everyone knew the stories. The missing hikers, the strange lights in the woods, the old amusement park that no longer existed, except on certain nights when fog rolled through the trees and the music came back. Rumor had spent 3 years chasing those stories for the school journalism club, and now the stories were outside her window. Her breathing quickened. The music drifted through the rain again, closer this time. Rumor moved fast. Jeans, flannel, sneakers, her oversized yellow raincoat. She grabbed her bulky camcorder from the desk beside her bed, nearly knocking over a stack of handwritten notes and newspaper clippings. Missing teen still not found. Strange lights over Fallow Woods. Former Dreamland employee found dead in 1962. Her bicycle waited beneath the side porch outside. The house remained silent as she slipped through the back door into the cold night air. Rain misted against her face immediately. The smell of wet pavement and pine needles filled the darkness. And there, beyond the tree line at the edge of town, pink and purple lights pulsed above the woods. Rumor froze. Her mouth slowly fell open. The lights moved behind the fog like something enormous waking up. Then the carnival music returned, louder.
Dreamland USA, where dreams never end.
Rumor Hesley. It's Tuesday night, and I think I found it.
The woods glowed purple for one impossible second. Then darkness swallowed everything again. Her bike tires crunched over soaked gravel roads as she pedaled hard toward the woods outside town. The deeper she rode, the quieter Duskberry Fallow became behind her. Porch lights vanished. Street signs disappeared into fog. Soon there was only rain, trees, distant carnival music, and those impossible neon lights bleeding through the mist ahead. Rumor's stomach twisted tighter with every second. The sulfur smell hit her first. Faint, like burnt matches. She slowed her bike immediately. The camcorder trembled slightly in her grip.
Hello?
No answer. Only the music. Then, a wet, choking noise echoed somewhere between the trees. Rumor's breath caught. The fog thickened around the road ahead. And slowly, something huge stepped between the trees. Rumor nearly crashed the bike. The figure stood at least 8 feet tall beneath the dripping branches. A giant rabbit mascot. Pink and white fur hung in rotten clumps from its massive body. Mold stains spread across the costume like disease. Its oversized plastic smile was cracked near the cheeks, exposing darkness inside the mascot head. Black saliva dripped slowly from its mouth. One long ear twitched. The thing did not blink. Rumor stared in frozen disbelief. The sulfur smell thickened instantly. The mascot tilted its head. Then, somewhere deep inside the suit, children giggled. Rumor gasped. The thing moved. Not normally. Wrong. Like frames missing from a videotape. 1 second it stood beneath the trees. The next, it was suddenly 20 feet closer. Rumor screamed. Her bike tipped sideways as she scrambled backward through wet gravel. The camcorder shook violently. Static exploded across the lens. Patch took another jerking step forward. Too fast. Too sudden. Its giant mascot shoes splashed through puddles as drool poured from the cracked grin. The thing released a low animalistic noise that sounded halfway between laughter and choking. Rumor scrambled for the bike. The carnival music grew deafening around her. Lights flashed violently somewhere behind the fog. Patch lunged. Rumor bolted into the woods screaming. Branches whipped across her face as she crashed through soaked undergrowth. The camcorder bounced wildly in her hands. Behind her, heavy mascot footsteps thundered through the darkness. Closer, closer. The sulfur smell burned her nose now. A distorted voice echoed through the trees.
Dreamland USA, where dreams never end.
Rumor sobbed. The woods no longer looked familiar. The trees seemed taller, twisted. The fog glowed purple between trunks. Something metallic groaned somewhere overhead. She burst into a clearing and froze. Her breath left her lungs. Rusted gates towered before her through the rain. Dreamland USA. The dead amusement park stretched endlessly beyond the fog. And suddenly, every light inside the park flickered on at once. Pink, purple, red. The midway blazed to life. Carousel music screamed through hidden speakers. Roller coaster tracks rattled violently overhead. And somewhere deep inside Dreamland USA, something laughed. Rumor backed away slowly. Patch stepped from the fog behind her. The rabbit's grin stretched impossibly wide. Then all the neon lights flickered black. For one terrible second, everything disappeared. Darkness. Silence. Then the lights flashed back on.
What do you want from me?
And somewhere nearby, children giggled in the dark. Rumor Hesley had been missing for 4 days. By Monday morning, half of Duskberry Fallow pretended not to notice anymore. That was the way the town handled terrible things. Quietly. Like if nobody looked directly at the horror, maybe it would crawl back underground by itself. Rain drizzled steadily across the cracked student parking lot outside Duskberry Fallow High as Story Monroe slammed her locker shut hard enough to rattle the metal doors beside it. She wouldn't just vanish, she muttered. Slash leaned against the lockers nearby, chewing strawberry gum loudly beneath the fluorescent lights. His denim jacket was covered in horror movie pins and faded band patches. People vanish all the time, he said casually. That's basically this town's entire personality. Story shot him a glare, not helping. I'm trying to keep morale high. You don't have morale. Fair. Further down the hallway, Gunnar adjusted his glasses while clutching a stack of Dungeons and Dragons books against his chest. She probably ran away, he said. Statistically speaking, that's more likely than supernatural intervention. Story rolled her eyes immediately. You sound like a robot. I sound logical. You sound constipated. Slash burst out laughing. Gunnar looked offended. Across the hall, Lilith sat cross-legged on the floor beside the Journalism Club bulletin board. Rumor's photograph hung there crookedly beneath a cluster of photocopied missing posters. Have you seen Rumor Hesley? Lilith stared at the picture quietly. Something about the girl's smile suddenly made her chest hurt. Rumor looked excited in the photo. Hopeful. Like she had discovered something wonderful right before the dark swallowed her whole. Jace approached, carrying his massive VHS camcorder over one shoulder. You guys heard the newest rumor? He asked. Story groaned immediately. You did not just say rumor while talking about rumor. I hate that her name makes every sentence confusing. Slash pointed dramatically. That's why she was chosen. No one chose her, Lilith said softly. The hallway quieted for a moment. Rain tapped gently against the school windows. Then Jace lowered his voice. People from Journalism Club said she was looking for Dreamland USA. Silence. Even Gunnar stopped fidgeting with his books. Slash snorted first. Oh cool, murder carnival. Gunnar shook his head immediately. The park isn't real. Yes, it is, Story said. Everybody looked at her. Story shrugged uncomfortably. When I was little, she muttered, my uncle used to tell me he could hear carnival music in the woods at night. That's because your uncle drank gasoline, Slash replied. True. Lilith slowly stood. But what if rumor really went out there? Nobody answered immediately. Outside, thunder rolled softly beyond town. Jace adjusted the camcorder strap nervously. She left notes, he said. Maps, too. Story looked up sharply. What maps? By sunset, rain clouds had swallowed most of Duskberry Fallow. The town looked bruised beneath the darkening sky. Neon diner signs buzzed weakly through mist. Old pickup trucks hissed across wet roads. Wind pushed dead leaves through empty parking lots like brittle bones skittering across concrete. Story sat on the hood of her truck beneath the flickering lights of a closed gas station while the others gathered around her. A folded paper map rested in her hands. Old, yellowed, water-stained. Dreamland USA. The faded logo showed a smiling cartoon rabbit mascot holding balloons. Patch. Even printed on paper, the mascot made Story uncomfortable. His eyes looked wrong, too wide, too empty. We're seriously doing this? Gunnar muttered. Yes, Story replied. No offense, Slash said, but this is exactly how people die in horror movies. Jace grinned nervously. That's why I brought batteries. He held up a backpack stuffed with videotapes and flashlight equipment. Lilith glanced toward the woods beyond town. Fog already lingered there, waiting. You really think she's still alive? She asked quietly. Story hesitated, then nodded once. Yeah, she lied. The sky darkened further overhead. 11:41 p.m. glowed softly across Jace's digital watch. Thunder rolled again. And far off beyond the trees, carnival music drifted faintly through the fog. Everyone froze. Slash slowly lowered his soda can. Okay, he whispered. That's new. The music echoed again. Warped, distant. Carousel organs melting beneath static. A child laughed somewhere deep in the woods. Gunnar's face lost color. That's not possible. Story folded the map slowly. Her pulse hammered now. Guess we're finding out. The woods outside Duskberry Fallow swallowed sound strangely at night. The deeper the five friends walked, the more the world behind them seemed to disappear. No cars, no town, no crickets, only wet leaves, fog, their breathing, and distant carnival music somewhere ahead. Jace's flashlight beam cut weakly through the mist. "This place smells weird," Slash muttered. Lilith nodded immediately. Sulfur, burnt matches. Story tightened her grip on the flashlight. "Stay close." Branches scraped softly overhead as they pushed deeper between massive pine trees. Then suddenly, Jace stopped walking. "Guys?" Everyone turned. Half hidden beside a fallen tree sat a bicycle. Rust speckled, rain soaked, its front wheel slowly spinning. Rumor Hesley's yellow raincoat still hung from the handlebars. Lilith covered her mouth. "Oh my God." Story stepped closer carefully. The bike looked abandoned in a hurry. Mud splattered across the tires. One sneaker print dragged through the dirt nearby as if someone had been pulled backward. And attached to the handlebars, a tiny strip of police tape fluttered softly in the wind. Gunnar swallowed hard. "We should leave." Nobody moved. Then Jace looked down at his wrist. Everyone checked their watches. 11:58 p.m. All 5 digital screens blinked the exact same frozen numbers. At once, the carnival music became deafening. The woods trembled violently around them. Fog surged through the trees like floodwater. Purple neon suddenly glowed beyond the mist. Then the entire forest went silent. Dead silent. No wind, no rain, no movement. Only the buzzing hum of electricity somewhere ahead. Slowly, the fog began to clear. And the 5 friends realized the woods were gone. Story's breath caught in her throat. Rusted carnival gates towered before them beneath endless purple fog. Beyond the entrance, Dreamland waited glowing in the darkness. And somewhere inside the park, something enormous moved. Nobody spoke. The 5 teens stood frozen beneath the towering gates of Dreamland USA, while purple fog drifted slowly between rusted ride structures beyond the entrance. The carnival stretched endlessly into darkness. Neon signs flickered weakly overhead.
Dreamland USA, where dreams never end.
The smiling rabbit mascot painted beneath the slogan looked almost identical to the thing Rumor captured on tape. Patch. Only this version was cleaner, newer, still cheerful. Lightning flashed silently overhead. For one brief second, Story thought she saw figures standing motionless inside the park. Then darkness swallowed them again. Slash broke the silence first. Absolutely not. Jace kept recording with trembling hands. His camcorder whirred softly beside his face. "This is insane," he whispered. "No," Gunnar replied quietly, staring at the impossible midway beyond the gates. "This is impossible." Story stepped forward slowly. The massive gates creaked open by themselves. Nobody touched them. Lilith immediately grabbed Story's sleeve. "Don't." Story hesitated. The sulfur smell drifted faintly through the fog again. Somewhere deep inside the park, children giggled. Then a loudspeaker crackled overhead. Static burst violently through hidden speakers before a cheerful, distorted voice echoed across the midway. "Welcome, guests." Everybody jumped. "Dreamland USA is now open." The voice glitched horribly. The speakers squealed. Then silence returned. Slash stared into the park. "I already hate this place." The midway looked frozen in decay. Overturned plastic tables littered cracked pavement slick with rainwater. Mold climbed faded carnival booths in thick black veins. Torn balloons drifted gently against rusted fencing despite the total absence of wind. Everywhere, broken prizes, soaked popcorn boxes, hanging ride cables, flickering lights, smiling mascot faces. The deeper they walked, the more Dreamland USA felt wrong. Not abandoned. Waiting. The neon lights buzzed loudly overhead, bathing the fog in sick pink and purple hues. Jace slowly panned his camcorder across a row of old carnival games. Every prize booth was empty, except for one thing. A half-eaten bag of cotton candy sitting on the counter. Fresh. Story noticed it immediately. That wasn't there before. Gunnar frowned. "What?" She pointed. The cotton candy slowly dripped rainwater onto the counter. Slash approached carefully. "You think somebody else is here?" Then, somewhere nearby, a clown laughed. Not from speakers, not recorded, real. The sound echoed through the fog behind them. Everyone turned sharply. Nothing stood there. Only drifting mist and glowing rides. Lilith wrapped her arms around herself. "We shouldn't be here." The sulfur smell grew stronger. Story looked around slowly. "Keep moving." 10 minutes later, they passed the same cotton candy booth again. Nobody realized it at first. Then Jace stopped dead. "Guys." Everyone turned. The same overturned plastic chair sat beside the booth. The same ripped clown poster flapped weakly overhead. And there, still resting on the counter, sat the same half-eaten bag of cotton candy. Nobody spoke. Slash laughed nervously. "Oh, cool." Gunnar stared at the midway behind them. That's not possible. We're walking in circles, Jace whispered. No, Lilith said quietly. Everyone looked at her. She pointed ahead. The midway stretched endlessly forward into fog. But behind them, the same midway stretched backward too. Same booths, same signs, same broken rides, same cotton candy stand. Again and again and again. Story's chest tightened painfully. No. The carnival music suddenly slowed overhead. The cheerful melody dragged unnaturally through static. Then all the neon lights flickered once. Blackness swallowed the midway. For one terrible second, everything disappeared. Then the lights flashed back on. A mannequin stood 20 feet ahead of them. Nobody had seen it arrive. Its body wore a faded Dreamland USA employee uniform. Its plastic face had melted smooth, featureless. The mannequin pointed silently deeper into the park. Slash stumbled backward immediately. Nope. Then another flicker. 3 mannequins now stood beside the first one. Closer, all pointing silently. The clown laughter echoed again somewhere nearby. Gunner's breathing quickened. We need to leave right now. Story turned sharply toward the entrance gates. Her stomach dropped. The gates were gone. Only endless black fog remained behind them. No woods, no road, nothing. The park had swallowed the exit. Jay suddenly lowered the camcorder. Story. His voice sounded strange, distant. She turned. What? Jace frowned weakly. Your name. A cold wave moved through Story's chest. What about it? He blinked hard. For a second, he looked deeply confused. Then, I forgot it. Silence. The carnival music continued warping slowly overhead. The mannequins twitched. Not much, just enough. Lilith whispered softly, "The park." Gunner stepped backward slowly. It's doing something to us. Then one of the mannequins moved. Not walking, jerking. Its head snapped violently toward them. And somewhere high above the midway, metal clattered across roller coaster tracks. The metal clattering above them stopped. Dead silence flooded the midway again. Then, something massive tore across the roller coaster tracks overhead. Sparks exploded through the fog. Everyone screamed simultaneously. A gigantic shape unfolded itself across the rusted rails above the midway like a mechanical spider. The wirework stalker. Its body was built from twisted coaster supports, brake cables, rusted steel beams, dangling wires, shattered animatronic parts. Its long metal limbs stabbed violently into the tracks with explosive clangs as it crawled upside down through the fog. One glowing maintenance bulb swung from where its face should have been. The thing stopped directly above them.
Thank you for riding. Please stay in your seat.
The creature dropped from the tracks. Everyone ran. Story's boots slammed across wet pavement as the midway erupted behind them in screeching metal. The wirework stalker crashed through old game booths in a shower of sparks. Plastic prizes exploded into the air. "Run!" Story screamed. Slash nearly slipped on soaked concrete beside her. "This is so much worse than I expected." "Move!" The carnival around them blurred together. Flickering rides, rusted fences, dead lights, screaming speakers, fog swallowing everything. Behind them, clang, clang, clang. The wirework stalker galloped across the midway on razor-like steel limbs. Its distorted maintenance voice echoed through the fog. "Remain seated." Jace's camcorder shook violently while recording. Story spotted the giant slide structure ahead. Towering, twisting tubes disappeared into purple mist overhead like gigantic intestines. "There!" The group sprinted toward it. Lightning flashed silently above the park, and for one terrible second, Story saw Patch standing motionless near the carousel in the distance, watching them. Then darkness swallowed him again. The slide structure loomed above them like something rotting alive. Faded paint peeled from massive enclosed tubes twisting high overhead. Rust streaked the support beams. Mold climbed the plastic entrances in black veins. A broken sign flickered weakly nearby. "Tumble tunnels! Have a sliding good time!" The speakers crackled. Children laughed somewhere inside the tubes. Story grabbed the nearest flashlight. "Everybody pick a tunnel!" "What?" Gunner shouted. The wirework stalker crashed through the fog behind them. "Go!" They scattered. Lilith dove into one of the enclosed slides just as the creature slammed into the structure behind her. The entire tower shook violently. Then darkness swallowed her whole. The tunnel smelled like mold and something wet. Lilith slid downward through complete blackness while plastic walls groaned around her. The sounds outside vanished instantly. Now there was only her breathing, squeaking plastic, distant carnival music vibrating through the tubes. Then, something moved beside her. Not inside the slide, inside the walls. A wet, slurping sound dragged slowly along the plastic exterior. Lilith froze immediately. The slide continued carrying her downward. The noise followed. Scratch, slurp, scratch, like fingers dragging across the outside of the tunnel. Lilith's breathing became shallow. Hello? No response. Only wet breathing. Right beside her ear now. The tunnel suddenly twisted sharply downward. Lilith screamed as she accelerated violently through darkness. Then, thud. She slammed into a pile of wet leaves at the tunnel exit. Rain mist drifted softly through purple neon nearby. Lilith scrambled upright immediately. Guys? No answer. The slide exit sat alone in the fog beside a fenced section of the park she didn't recognize. No midway. No friends. Only endless rusted attractions disappearing into darkness. The sulfur smell drifted faintly through the air. Lilith backed away from the slide opening slowly. Then she heard it. Breathing. Inside the tunnel. Wet. Hungry. Something shifted slowly within the darkness of the tube. The plastic bulged outward. A human-shaped outline crawled inside the slide walls toward her. Too fast. Lilith stumbled backward. The thing inside the tube moved upside down. Its joints bent wrong. Slurping noises echoed louder now. Then suddenly, a pale hand pressed outward against the plastic from inside. Lilith screamed. The hand dragged downward slowly, as if something was crawling directly toward the exit. Another bulge appeared. Then another. The entire tube writhed. Something enormous compressed itself through the tunnel system. Children laughed backwards somewhere overhead. Lilith backed into a rusted fence. Her flashlight beam shook violently. Then the creature emerged. The gutter mouth unfolded itself from the slide opening like a starving insect. Its skin looked pale and rubbery beneath the neon lights. Mold stains covered its stretched body. Its limbs bent backward while black saliva dripped from rows of broken plastic-like teeth. No eyes, only skin pulled tight over smooth sockets. Its body crackled and compressed unnaturally as it crawled from the tunnel. The thing inhaled deeply, then tilted its head directly toward Lilith, like it could smell her fear. The carnival music slowed overhead. The creature opened its mouth impossibly wide. And inside, Lilith heard children crying. Lilith couldn't move. The thing crouched halfway out of the slide tunnel beneath flickering purple neon while rainwater dripped slowly from its pale skin. Children cried inside its mouth. Not recordings. Real. Small trembling sobs echoing somewhere deep inside the creature's throat. Lilith's entire body locked with terror. The gutter mouth twitched suddenly. Its backward-bending limbs snapped violently against the pavement. Then it lunged. Lilith screamed and ran. Her sneakers slammed through puddles as she sprinted blindly through the fog-choked section of Dreamland USA. Behind her, the creature dragged itself across the pavement with horrifying speed. Its limbs cracked backward violently every few seconds like dislocating bones. Lilith nearly slipped while turning sharply around an old popcorn cart. Help! The carnival around her felt endless now. Rusted rides loomed through fog like giant corpses. Animatronics twitched nearby beneath flickering lights. Somewhere deeper in the park, A woman laughed hysterically. The gutter mouth shrieked behind her. Not animalistic. Human, like dozens of children screaming together at once. Lilith's flashlight beam jerked wildly across overturned tables and broken carnival booths. Then suddenly, a giant clown face lit up beside her.
Welcome to Dreamland!
Lilith screamed. The animatronic clown jerked violently in place beneath buzzing neon lights. Its eyes rolled too quickly inside their sockets. Its jaw spasmed open and shut. Then it spoke again.
You forgot something?
The clown's head snapped directly toward her. Lilith ran harder. The fog thickened suddenly. So dense now she could barely see more than a few feet ahead. The sulfur smell drifted heavily through the mist. Patch. Somewhere nearby. No, no, no. A deep mascot growl echoed through the darkness. Close. Lilith stumbled around a corner and nearly crashed into a line of old porta-potties sitting beside a dead ride queue. The gutter mouth shrieked behind her again. Too close. Lilith panicked. She yanked open the nearest porta-potty door and threw herself inside. Slam! Darkness swallowed her immediately. The tiny plastic walls smelled like mildew, wet rust, rotting water, and something sour underneath. Lilith clamped both hands over her mouth, trying not to breathe too loudly. Outside, silence. Only distant carnival music. Then, scratch. Something dragged slowly across the outside wall. Lilith squeezed her eyes shut. The plastic wall beside her flexed inward slightly. Another scrape. Then wet breathing. Right outside the door. Lilith trembled violently. Rainwater tapped softly against the plastic roof overhead. Then, thunk. Something heavy leaned against the outside door. The entire porta-potty creaked. Lilith slowly looked downward. A giant shadow blocked the thin strip of neon light beneath the door. Too tall. Way too tall. The sulfur smell flooded the cramped space instantly. Patch. Lilith stopped breathing entirely. Outside the door, something sniffed slowly. Wet. Animalistic. Then a distorted voice crackled softly through the plastic wall. Found you. Lilith nearly sobbed. Drool slid beneath the tiny gap under the door. Black. Sticky. The mascot giggled softly outside. Children giggled with him. Then silence again. Long, horrible silence. Lilith's heartbeat thundered inside her ears. Please go away. Please, please. A sudden metallic clang echoed somewhere nearby in the park. The wirework stalker screamed overhead. Patch's shadow shifted beneath the door. Then slowly, The giant shadow moved away. Lilith waited several more seconds. Then another. Then another. Finally, she carefully unlocked the door. The hinges creaked softly. Purple fog drifted outside. Empty midway. No patch. Lilith exhaled shakily. Then a flashlight beam suddenly hit her face. She screamed. "Lilith!" Story grabbed her shoulders immediately. "Oh my God!" Lilith nearly collapsed from relief. Story looked soaked from rain and breathing hard. Gunnar stood behind her, clutching a rusted metal pipe, while Slash nervously scanned the fog around them. Jace was missing. "Where's Jace?" Lilith gasped. Nobody answered immediately. The silence said enough. Then Gunnar frowned suddenly. "Wait." Story looked at him. "What?" He blinked slowly, confused. "There were 6 of us, right?" Everybody froze. The carnival music slowed overhead. And somewhere deep inside Dreamland USA, a little girl laughed. "There were 6 of us, right?" The words hit Lilith like ice water. Rain hissed softly through the fog around them while the neon lights of Dreamland USA flickered overhead. Story stared at Gunnar. "What are you talking about?" Gunnar blinked hard behind his fogged glasses. He frowned deeply. "I don't know." Slash laughed nervously. "Okay, cool. Awesome. Love whatever that was." But nobody really laughed. Because for one horrible second, Lilith felt it too. The sensation that someone should have been standing beside them. Someone missing. A hole in the group. Then the feeling slipped away again like a dream, dissolving after waking. The carnival music crackled overhead. They found Jace's flashlight first, still glowing weakly beside an overturned ring toss booth. Rainwater pooled around it. The sulfur smell lingered faintly nearby. Story picked up the flashlight slowly. "Jace?" she shouted into the fog. Only static answered from distant speakers. Then, Jace's camcorder whirred softly somewhere ahead. Everyone froze. The sound echoed from deeper inside the midway. Lilith immediately grabbed Story's sleeve. "Don't split up again. I'm not leaving him. We don't even know what took him." "We know exactly what took him," Slash muttered quietly. "Patch." Nobody said the name aloud. The fog shifted ahead. The camcorder sound continued. Whir click, whir click, like the tape was still recording. Story tightened her grip on the flashlight. "Stay together." The midway became stranger the farther they walked. The park no longer obeyed normal space. At some point, The pavement beneath their feet changed from cracked concrete to old wooden boardwalk planks slick with moisture. Then back again. Ride structures moved when nobody looked directly at them. A Ferris wheel appeared briefly through the fog to their left, but vanished seconds later. The loudspeakers crackled randomly overhead.
Dreamland USA reminds guests to smile.
Static exploded.
Smile.
The mannequins had moved too. Now dozens stood throughout the midway, motionless beside game booths, near food carts, at ride entrances. Their melted, featureless faces pointed silently toward the teens, watching, waiting. Slash kept glancing at them nervously. I hate the mannequins more than the monsters. No, you don't, Story replied. Okay, fair. Then suddenly, whir, click. The camcorder sound came again. Closer now. Lilith pointed ahead. There. A small employee booth sat beside a dead ride entrance partially swallowed by fog. The camcorder glow flicked weakly inside. Story approached slowly. Every instinct in her body screamed not to. The sulfur smell thickened. The booth door stood half open. Rain tapped softly against its roof. Story pushed the door wider. The camcorder rested alone on a mold-covered counter. Still recording. Static hissed across the tiny screen. No Jace. Only the camera. Slash swallowed hard. That's bad, right? Story grabbed the camcorder immediately. The screen flickered violently. Then suddenly, Jace appeared on the playback. Everyone froze. The footage shook violently while Jace ran through the midway alone. Static tore across the screen. His terrified breathing filled the speaker. I can't find them, he whispered frantically. The park keeps changing. A loud metallic screech echoed somewhere behind him. Jace spun the camera wildly. The wirework stalker clattered across roller coaster tracks overhead. Its glowing maintenance bulb face flickered through fog. Jace sobbed. Then the footage glitched. For one split second, something else appeared behind him. A flat black silhouette standing unnaturally close. The flashbulb shade. Its screaming grin stretched impossibly wide. The footage skipped again. Now Jace stood beside the carousel. Only he looked different. Calmer. His expression blank. The carousel lights glowed softly behind him while old horses rotated slowly in the fog. Jace stared directly into the camera, then quietly said, I forgot my mom's face. Lilith covered her mouth. The tape crackled violently. Jace's breathing trembled. If you find this, don't trust the park. Then he slowly turned the camera. Story's stomach dropped. spray painted across the carousel fence behind him in dripping red letters. Patch holds the ticket. The footage glitched harder. Static screamed. Then Jace whispered one final thing. He knows your names. The tape cut black. Silence. Nobody moved. Rain drifted softly through the fog around them. Then, the carousel music started. Slow, warped, dreamlike. The ride began turning somewhere nearby in the darkness. And one by one, the horses started moving on their own. Nobody moved. Purple fog drifted slowly around the carousel plaza while the final neon bulb buzzed weakly overhead. Patch stood beneath it, motionless, 8 feet tall. Rainwater dripped from his matted pink and white fur in thick black streaks. Mold climbed the mascot suit like spreading rot. One long ear twitched slowly while sulfur-smelling drool leaked endlessly from the cracked plastic grin. And pinned directly to his oversized bow tie, the red ticket. Fresh, bright, wrong. The only clean thing in Dreamland USA. Story's heartbeat slammed painfully against her ribs. The carnival music had stopped completely now. No speakers, no rides, no laughter. The entire park felt like it was holding its breath. Patch tilted his head. Children giggled softly inside the suit. Then the rabbit spoke. Congratulations, guests. The voice sounded layered. Not one voice. Hundreds. Some old, some young, some crying. You made it to the final attraction. Lilith trembled beside Story. Please, she whispered. Please let Rumor go. Patch's giant smile widened slightly. Then the thing took one slow step forward. Thud. The entire carousel creaked behind them. One of the painted horses screamed softly. Story forced herself not to back away. Give us the ticket. Patch stared at her silently. Then somewhere inside the mascot's suit, something knocked from within. 3 soft taps, like fingers hitting plastic. Story's stomach turned. There were people inside him, or pieces of them. The rabbit's massive head twitched violently sideways with a loud crack. Then his voice deepened. 1. Prize. The red ticket fluttered slightly against the bow tie. 1. Winner. Slash whispered. Oh no. Patch lunged. The plaza exploded into chaos. Story grabbed Lilith and shoved her sideways as Patch crashed through the carousel fence behind them in a shower of splintered wood. The rabbit moved impossibly fast. 1 second across the plaza. The next, directly beside them. Slash screamed as Patch's massive mascot arm slammed into the pavement inches from his head. Concrete shattered. Everyone scattered. The carousel spun wildly behind them now, while distorted carnival music screamed through hidden speakers again. Patch charged after Story on all fours. His giant mascot limbs bent wrong beneath the suit, while drool splattered across the pavement behind him. The sulfur smell burned Story's throat. She sprinted between overturned tables while neon lights flickered violently overhead. She turned sharply. The wire work stalker descended from the roller coaster tracks above them. Its massive metal limbs stabbed into the plaza around Patch with explosive clangs, while sparks rained through the fog. Patch stopped moving instantly. The two monsters stared at one another. Then the loudspeakers crackled overhead. Employee conflict detected. Static screamed. Please remain calm. The wire work stalker shrieked mechanically and lunged. Patch roared. The entire plaza erupted into metal and fur and screaming lights. Story grabbed Gunner immediately. Now. They ran. The midway twisted around them while Dreamland USA began changing again. Fast now. Violently. Rides moved between blinks. Pathways stretched impossibly long. Fog swallowed entire attractions whole. And somewhere behind them, Patch screamed. Not animalistic. Agonized. Like a dying carnival speaker tearing itself apart. Lilith nearly collapsed beside an old shooting gallery. I can't remember my mom's voice. Story grabbed her face immediately. Look at me. Lilith blinked hard. Rainwater streamed down Story's baseball cap. You're Lilith, Story said firmly. You love Stevie Nicks and horror movies, and you cried when E.T. died even though Slash made fun of you for 2 weeks. Slash pointed while running. She cried hard. Lilith laughed weakly through tears. Memory returned briefly to her eyes. The park hated connection. Story understood that now. Dreamland fed on isolation, on forgetting. Then Gunner stopped running suddenly. Everyone turned. The midway ahead ended abruptly. Only black void waited beyond the pavement. No fog, no woods, nothing. The park was collapsing. The loudspeakers crackled overhead one final time. Sunrise approaching. Static exploded violently. All guests must leave the park. Story's pulse spiked. The gate. Where? Slash shouted. Then somewhere behind them, heavy mascot footsteps echoed slowly through the fog. Thud, thud, thud. Patch emerged from the mist. Damaged now. Part of his mascot face hung loose, revealing writhing darkness beneath the costume. Whispering voices poured from the tear and pinned crookedly to the ruined bow tie. the red ticket remained. Patch walked toward them slowly through the collapsing midway. Thud, thud, thud. The giant rabbit's ruined mascot face twitched beneath dying neon lights while fog curled around his enormous body like smoke from a fire. And now they could finally see inside the suit. Not flesh, not bone. Darkness. A living void churned beneath the torn mascot fabric filled with whispering voices, moving hands, crying faces pressing outward from inside. Like Dreamland had stuffed every stolen victim into Patch's body. Children giggled somewhere deep within the darkness. Then Rumor's voice whispered softly from inside the rabbit. Story. Story nearly stopped breathing. Patch tilted his head. The red ticket fluttered weakly against the rotting bow tie. So close. The loudspeakers overhead screamed with static. Park closing in 3 minutes. The midway lights began shutting off one by one in the distance. Whole sections of Dreamland vanished into black void as the park collapsed with sunrise approaching. Roller coaster tracks twisted unnaturally overhead. The Ferris wheel folded slowly into fog like melting wire. And somewhere far away, people screamed. Not the teens, others. Victims still trapped inside the park. "We have to move," Gunner shouted. Patch suddenly dropped onto all fours and charged. The rabbit exploded through the midway with horrifying speed. Story screamed, "Run!" Everyone scattered as Patch smashed through a popcorn cart behind them in a burst of rusted metal and moldy debris. The sulfur smell flooded the air. Slash vaulted over overturned tables while Lilith slipped across soaked pavement beside him. Patch lunged. His giant mascot hand slammed inches behind Lilith's head. Concrete exploded. The rabbit's mouth opened too wide. Inside the darkness, human faces screamed silently. Story turned sharply while running. The red ticket flapped from Patch's bow tie as the rabbit barreled after them through flickering fog. She had one chance. "Keep him moving!" she screamed. "What?" Slash yelled. Story grabbed a broken carnival pole from the pavement and spun hard, then charged directly toward Patch. "Story!" Lilith screamed. Patch roared. The rabbit lunged at her full speed, and Story dove sideways at the last second. The mascot crashed through the rusted support beams of an old game booth instead. Metal collapsed around him. The red ticket snagged briefly against twisted wiring. Story saw it. Now. She launched herself forward. Patch screamed as she grabbed the ticket with both hands and ripped hard. The bow tie tore open, and something inside Patch grabbed her wrist. Story looked up. Hands. Human hands reaching outward from the darkness inside the mascot suit. Dozens of them. Cold fingers wrapped around her arm desperately. Then Rumor's voice whispered again from inside the void. "Leave." Patch shrieked violently. The rabbit staggered backward while the ripped mascot chest split wider open. The darkness inside writhed. Faces pushed outward beneath the fabric. The entire suit began collapsing inward unnaturally, like something folding into itself. Story stumbled away, clutching the red ticket. The park began dying around them. The midway collapsed into chaos. Lights exploded overhead. Rides vanished into fog. Mannequins twitched violently before crumbling motionless to the pavement. The loudspeakers screamed one final announcement. Thank you for visiting Dreamland USA. Static erupted. Please come again. The gates appeared ahead through the fog. Finally, rusted, towering, half swallowed by darkness. The old turnstiles waited beneath a flickering exit sign. But the black void behind the park was spreading fast now, consuming everything. And Patch was still coming. The rabbit crawled from the collapsing midway behind them, dragging torn mascot limbs across the pavement. No longer walking, crawling. Its body fell apart while whispering voices poured endlessly from inside the suit. But still smiling. Always smiling. The ticket, Gunner screamed. Story reached the turnstile first. Her hands shook violently as she shoved the red ticket into the rusted slot. Nothing happened. Oh no. Behind them, Patch screamed. Closer, closer. Then the ticket suddenly glowed blood red. Clunk. The turnstile unlocked. The gates groaned open. Cold morning air rushed through from the other side. Real air. Real world. Sunrise. Go! Slash shoved Lilith through first while Gunner nearly tripped over the rusted tracks beneath the gate. Story turned one final time. Patch had stopped moving. The rabbit crouched motionless beneath dying neon lights while the park collapsed around him. And through the torn mascot chest, Story saw Rumor Hesley's face staring out from the darkness. Still trapped inside. The girl smiled weakly. Then the fog swallowed everything. Dreamland vanished. Morning sunlight spilled softly across the woods outside Duskberry Fallow. Birds chirped. Wind moved through pine trees. No midway, no rides, no neon lights. Only crumbling ruins hidden beneath overgrown grass. The 5 friends stumbled from the tree line, shaking and soaked with rainwater. Nobody spoke. Nobody knew how to. Behind them, the woods stood silent. Like Dreamland USA had never existed at all.